Welcome back. We have a very special guest today.
It's going to be deep. Can I say that? I just feel like it's going to be deep.
Get
I
your
feel
expectations
chastened, really.
all the way up.
Yeah.
Today we have Ben Zitsman.
Hold on. Zitsman.
Oh my God. Lol. I'm so embarrassed. Okay. Ben Zitsman, all caps. That's how you are on my phone. And yeah.
An emphatic Zitsman.
I am.
Right.
He is the former managing editor of the Antioch Review, which, if you don't know, is a very prestigious literary magazine. And he is currently starting his own literary magazine, which, does it have a name yet?
It does. The American Review.
Oh, I just get chills hearing that. I love it.
Very patriotic, Ben.
That's what we're all about on this podcast.
God bless America.
God bless America.
If we haven't said it already. And in general, Ben's just kind of like a man about town.
A man of letters.
Goes around town just shaking hands, kissing babies.
Totally.
You know, when I was 7 years old, my parents had to sit me down because I would go up to strangers and say, "Hi, my name's Ben Zitsman, and I think you're fantastic." And then I'd hug them.
So I used to go up to strangers and say, "Hi, my name is Chessie Bino." And then I would just, which is what I called myself when I was like 3. And I would just talk to people.
Why would you call yourself Chessie Bino?
I have no idea.
That's so funny.
Well, my childhood nickname was Chessie. And then I guess a Bino just felt like it encapsulated. What is it called? The little thing that you put on the end in Russian?
Yes.
Yeah, whatever that thing is. You know, I
Yeah.
gave one to myself.
Your confidence is inspiring, both of you. I prefer neither to be seen nor heard.
Get out.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. So Ben is going to share one of his many adventures about his brief brush with Catholicism. Should we just get into it?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, sure. So, in 2021, I was living in a $600 a month townhouse in Yellow Springs, Ohio, a village of 2,100 people. And I had just attempted to take the Antioch Review independent of Antioch College, where it was based. I failed to do this and got everybody involved served with cease and desist letters. And
Wait, what did you do? Can you tell us?
yeah, of course. So, Antioch Review, the magazine, was more established than the college, which is usually not the way it goes. And at one point had a larger endowment than the college. Antioch College is a fucking higher educational clown car. I resent them intensely still. I'm working on it. So when COVID happened, they announced that the magazine was shutting down, and I thought, I wonder what our budget looks like. Our budget was gone. And I thought, this is not good. We need to be able to raise funds for ourselves independently. We need to get away from the college. We can still be at the college, but if we're still there, we're screwed. So I went to the magazine's editor since 1968, a guy named Bob Fogarty, and said, I'm going to incorporate a 501c3. I'm going to get us out of this. So Bob, myself, and the head of the editorial advisory board, a guy named Gordon Lish.
Gordon Lish?
Yeah.
The Gordon Lish?
Yeah.
Ah, okay, great.
So, I'd wanted to work at the Antioch Review.
I mean, should we
since
tell
I was
people
a
who
kid.
Gordon Lish is?
Gordon Lish is...
Or was? R.I.P.?
No.
No, he's still, but he's not teaching. He doesn't have his workshops anymore,
Goodness,
does
no.
he?
But
Yeah.
he lives in this building, but 2 blocks up. He was, when he was editing, he was probably the most famous American editor of fiction. He edited Raymond Carver's short stories pretty famously.
Well, did he edit them or did he write them?
Yes.
This is the question.
The answer is yes. And when I was a kid, I saw that story in the New Yorker about Gordon rewriting the stories. And instead of thinking this is a very sadistic way to edit, I thought, I want to be that guy.
Yeah,
And,
totally.
you know, when I was growing up, I was in Columbus, Ohio. And I thought,
is that where you're from?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I thought that literature is something that happened somewhere else. And then I came across the Antioch Review my freshman year of high school. And, like, here was this magazine, like, Cynthia Ozick, Jonathan Franzen, Carver, Lish, all of these people were involved with it. It was 60 miles down the road. It was intoxicating. So I had always wanted to be involved with the Antioch Review. And when I came time to re-enroll in college, I dropped out. I thought, I'll go to Antioch and maybe I can be an intern at the Review. That's the only reason I went there. And I got to be an intern. And then I got to work my way up. And then the day I graduated, Bob said, all right, you're managing editor. Let's see what happens. And what happened is I got Bob Gordon and myself served with cease and desist by incorporating 501c3 without Antioch's permission or knowledge and trying to raise money independently.
Sorry for trying to keep the literary scene alive in America.
Is exactly
Antioch.
what I said, Antioch. So that happened, and I'm living in a townhouse in Yellow Springs with no ideas for my future, taking a ton of Adderall, getting a lot of big ideas and following through on none of them. And my girlfriend at the time was...
How tall was she? Can we just inquire?
5'9". I don't... That 5'10" thing I heard about, I was like, did I say that?
You did say that to me, Ben. You looked me straight in the eyes and you said, I don't date women below 5'10".
Well, I don't anymore. But... Yeah, no, she was 5'9", I believe, and just one of the most accomplished and brilliant people I'd ever met. And she was dating me, who was doing nothing at the time, and so
women love a project.
They do, and also women see possibility and they see potential, and clearly she did not see wrong.
No, she didn't see wrong, but you know, if you're trying to fix up a fixer-upper and he keeps, like, tearing down the wallpaper you've put up, you're going to get frustrated. And
totally.
she did, and she broke up with me, and I didn't realize how sort of spiritually fallow my life was. If anybody asked, I was like, yeah, I believe in God. That guy fucking rules. But, you know, she left me, and...
Did you grow up with religion?
I grew up Reformed Jewish, so no.
Okay.
I grew up with Reformed Judaism, which is just a series of sort of cultural...
Events
Yeah,
throughout the year.
Yeah, basically. And I was bar mitzvahed, and I didn't know anything about it. And I always felt a real hunger for... I wanted God to want something of me. I wanted God to be there. And I think one's God, when one doesn't have a intentional, mindful spiritual practice, just looks like one's dad.
Yikes.
And
This
so,
is a podcast about daddy issues.
yeah. No, every podcast is a podcast about daddy issues. And so my God was sort of aloof, inscrutable, and not a fan of me.
And so then you thought Catholicism would
Kind of,
that?
not consciously. So I get dumped, and I reach out to my friend who was a Jesuit priest, and he had a few
love the
years...
Jesuits.
Yeah, they're fantastic. I have a face mask with the Jesuit seal on it now that I got. Well, I'll tell you where shortly. But he had worked on a Jesuit mission on Pine Ridge Reservation.
Sorry, real quick. How old was your friend? I'm just curious.
Oh, gosh.
Was he a young man or an older man?
That's my age.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Maybe
to
a
me.
year older.
Okay.
Yeah, he, had his own sort of crisis, tried to become a Buddhist, and then thought, wait a minute, I was raised Catholic, surely there's something for me there. And there sure was.
Surely there's something for us in the God of our fathers.
Yes.
Perhaps.
I actually have my cousin Bob is in his 90s, and he is both a Jesuit priest and a Zen Buddhist master.
Wow.
So you can do both.
Thomas Merton vibes.
Totally.
Yeah, and he would be Thomas Merton's age, a little younger, I guess. But I said, you need to send me to the mission on Pine Ridge. I need to go there. And he asked way fewer questions than he should have, I think. Or I just sort of lied to him, one of the two. And maybe a week later, I was on a plane to Pine Ridge Reservation to teach.
For those who don't know, can you just quickly explain what Pine Ridge Reservation is?
Pine Ridge is a Lakota Sioux reservation in the southwestern corner of South Dakota. And as of maybe 2015, 2016, I don't know when I saw these stats, it is the poorest place in the Western Hemisphere, including Haiti. It has the lowest life expectancy in the Western Hemisphere, I believe 31 years old.
Oh my God.
It's a rough place. But there's a school there, Red Cloud School, and the Jesuits run it, and it's a really great place. Like, the kids have gone on to the Ivies or, done really incredible stuff. Kyrie Irving shows up there intermittently for some reason. At least he did.
Is he trying to teach them about, like, the flat Earth?
Who is that?
Theory?
He's a basketball player for
Who's
some fucking
famous,
team or other.
Who's famously, right? Is he's the flat earther, right?
Flat earther, highly skeptical of vaccines, a fun guy.
I mean, he also has a reputation, unless I have my basketball players mixed up, which I don't think I do. He also has a reputation of, like, somehow insidiously, psychically destroying the morale of every team he joins.
Yeah, he does that.
Much like Ben did at the Antioch Review.
No, morale was high. Morale, I'll have you know, was high. We just all got sued almost. Yeah, but it's a great place, and I thought I could go there, and I wanted to find God. That's what I thought. And I don't know how conscious this was, but I wanted God to destroy me, to destroy everything that I was, that I'd been up until that point, that had, made me as sort of elaborately, exuberantly unhappy as I was. And I was like, I am going to go somewhere really rough, and God is going to crush me into little pieces and then reform me. And that'll show her. I went to the reservation at my ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, to get her back, or to show her how you could purify your spirit through fire. Okay.
To get her. The text messages I was sending her at that time weren't the text messages of a guy who thinks he's going to get his girlfriend back.
Yeah.
I misbehaved.
Haven't we all?
Yeah. And so I went there, and I went to live among the Jesuits. And, two guys in the habit with the collar and a Subaru Outback picked me up at the Chadron, Nebraska airport. I'd flown in on this tiny plane, and walking to the plane in Denver, it was just me and the pilot. I said, "Hey, buddy, how you doing?" And he said, "Not good today," which is horrible to hear when you're. And he was like younger than I was, and I spent the entire time looking at the pimples on the back of his neck as the plane just, yawed wildly.
This is the pilot?
Yes, this is the fucking pilot.
Oh, God.
He was like, "I'm doing bad." And when we landed, I said, "Why are you doing bad?" I didn't want to know before.
Sure.
And he just looked at me. Give me the hardest look another person can give you, and said, "Bitches."
Isn't that right?
And you were like, "Same, buddy." Same.
I said that. I said same. But the Jesuits pick me up and take me to a pizza place in this tiny Nebraska town.
How was the pizza?
Fucking wretched.
I'm sure.
The sauce was as sweet as Hawaiian Punch. And, we're just chatting. I'm like, what do I have to say to men who have, taken religious orders, who are right with their God and right with the word? I am diametrically opposed to these people, and I want to be them. I was like, hey, you guys like Flannery O'Connor? I'll bet you guys like Flannery O'Connor. And they did, and they were gracious, and they were kind, and I had no idea what I was getting into. We drive north, hit the res. They still have COVID checkpoints up. And Pine Ridge is where the American Indian movement originated.
I don't know what that is. Can you tell us?
So AIM was a movement in the 70s that basically said Native Americans should take their land back by force. And in the 70s, Pine Ridge was occupied by the American Indian movement completely. The BIA, Bureau of Indian Affairs, which administrates all reservations in the U.S., was kicked out, and they were eventually forced out again. But yeah, the American Indian movement violently occupied Pine Ridge Reservation. It was the only place that happened. Pine Ridge is also where Wounded Knee happened.
Okay.
Which is I'm not sure if it's the largest. I think it may be, but it's certainly one of the most heinous massacres of Native Americans by the government. It's a place of profound historical sadness. It's a place of...
Did it feel haunted to you?
More than anywhere I've ever been. It is... There's great joy there. There's great community there. It's incredibly complex, but for me, it's the worst place I've ever been. And
we're not going to say where Ben has been, but it's significant. That is a significant statement.
Yeah.
You've been to some shitty places.
Yeah, and like our friend Alex Howe, I've also been to jail.
Did you two find it lacking?
It's the second worst place I've ever been.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking rough.
I haven't heard good things.
The really upsetting thing for me about jail was realizing I couldn't charm anybody.
Oh.
Like, my force of personality was useless.
I wonder if this is a moment to say that my mother, Gloria Root, may she rest in peace, actually did time in Greek jail for 9 months.
Was she on the good side or bad side? Was it like the Greek Civil War?
No, it was she...
Okay, I found this on the web.
You're going to run into trouble with Siri. So Siri's going to send some damning information to someone.
Should I tell this story? Is this... I just... I guess it doesn't really matter. My mother just did time for drug trafficking.
Oh.
But it was in the 60s, and she was a playmate.
It was a different time.
It was a different time.
No, I mean, like, my dad's best friend, too, did time for drug trafficking, and he... It wasn't Greece for him. I believe it was the south of France. But that was happening in the 60s.
Yeah.
My mother just texted me, "Hi, honey, when is the podcast? Please send me the link." I'm going to do something right now. I'm going to do something.
Are you going to call your mom?
Yeah, she'll like this.
Wow, first time anyone's called their mom on our podcast.
I'm sure Alex almost did.
Yeah.
Because he got so mad at me.
We know you don't like our podcast, Mrs. Howe.
And what is it that I don't? Where do I get off?
Where does Francesca get off?
Mostly in the bedroom, but
She's not picking up. This could have been a great bit. Yeah. So jail sucks. But yeah, it was horrible. And the first day that I was there, I got use of a 1998 Toyota Camry, which is the best car I've ever driven. And like when they handed me the keys, they're like, "We call this car Red Wing." And it was maroon, and I loved it. And I was driving around the reservation, and there were wild horses on the reservation. There were wild dogs on the reservation, and I saw this horse lying down and resting, I thought, playing with wild dogs. And the dogs were sort of jumping and dancing around it and sort of hitting it with their snouts. And I was like, "Oh, that's cute." And I slowed down and looked, and wherever the dogs would sort of nudge the horse with their snouts, the horse's coat would get darker. And the horse was emaciated, and I could see its ribs. And it lifted up its neck, and it was this beautiful, graceful swan-like curve, and looked at what the dogs were doing, and then put its head back down. And I realized I was watching a horse being eaten alive by wild dogs.
That was your first day?
First or second.
Damn.
And I thought, I can't hang. I can't hang. I don't know if this occurred to me consciously at the time, but I thought, I don't have God like these people have God, and you need to have something if you're here. Everybody on the reservation either had God, had some sort of strong ideology, or had just the ties of community and family. I had none of these things.
Or how is everyone dying at 31? Or did they have like alcohol and drugs?
And Oxycontin.
There's a town Pine Ridge is a dry reservation. Most reservations are. And I thought, fantastic, I can't get into too much trouble here. There's a town right across the border in Nebraska called White Clay. Entirely liquor stores, nothing but. And a year before I went there, or 2 years, it was shut down. All of the liquor stores in White Clay Nebraska revoked their license because it was just this horrible sort of black hole of human anguish. Just people dying. So how do people die there? Diabetes, alcoholism, and drunk driving, which is also.
And is there any correlation, like with it's the highest poverty rate or the most poverty in the Western Hemisphere? Is that was that in some way punishment for the fact that there was like an uprising there? Like, did the government have any hand in maybe like removing of resources and support?
No, not really. I mean, yes and no. The government underfunds the Bureau of Indian Affairs by a lot, and they always have. I mean, not always, but since Reagan, at least, it's direly underfunded. And I would argue that, 3/4 of the AIM was, and I don't know.
American
I'm not
Indian
an
Movement,
expert.
AIM.
Yeah.
Okay.
I am not an expert, but I would argue that much of it was just sort of principle, but also a lot of it was in response to that stuff rather than that stuff existing as retaliation.
Got it.
Okay. And how were the Jesuits received? Because while I love the Jesuits, and I feel like modern day Jesuits have a great reputation, they also have a very dicey history with the indigenous people.
It was complicated. It was really complicated. They rendered a profound service on the reservation. It was and remains an excellent school. It began as a boarding school, though. And while I was there, they brought in ground-piercing radar to see if there were mass graves because of what had happened at Kamloops up in Canada. The Canadian boarding school situation was really awful. But it started as a place called Holy Rosary Mission in the 1880s. And it wasn't, Indian boarding school with everything that means. Today, or when I was there, Red Cloud School, as it was renamed, Red Cloud, or in Lakota Sioux, a guy named Machpialuta, was a leader in the Lakota Sioux community, a chief, and also a Catholic convert. And he was sainted. Some years ago, too. So, the Jesuits had been there so long that in the Lakota Sioux culture on Pine Ridge, there had been a lot of enmeshment. Certainly, there were a lot of people who were still angry about it. But the families who sent their children there weren't angry, and Red Cloud has a really robust Lakota cultural education thing. They have, religious education in Lakota Sioux indigenous religion, in the language. They're really doing their best. But of course, there are a lot of sort of unassimilated complex bad feelings. I don't think they ever will be assimilated. How could they be?
Yeah.
Well, it seems like this just makes me think about how this new stuff of like the Afrikaner refugees being brought in, just like I feel like people vaguely used to always talk to me about how the Truth and Reconciliation, am I getting this right? You guys, commission like really did the good work, and it's like, well, I don't know if that's totally doesn't seem completely accurate, but
yeah.
Because it's like, if you don't give back the land at some point, do you really mean what you're saying? You know, which gets us into a whole other conversation about like reparations, which maybe we don't want to have as a global conversation right now. You know what I mean? But it's like, if you steal the land and then you keep it, all the good feelings in the world aren't really going to get you there.
Yeah, it's cursed.
Even if you gave the land back, how do you atone for the death? How do you atone? There is no atoning, and there's reparations for something like that, and speaking only about my experience on the reservation, are ultimately impossible. And I think that the church, the Jesuits specifically, have done the best they can under the circumstances, but I think that they believe that it's impossible too. And I can only speak about my experience, which was small and involved my, shortly after seeing that, finding some really fucking hard drugs.
Yeah.
And
Wait, so you were living at a Jesuit monastery whilst doing really hard drugs?
yeah, so I'll tell you what I did. The reason that I got the car is because I said I needed it to go to meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous. I did not do that. I went up to Rapid City, where there is an Air Force base, and anywhere there's an Army installation, you can find drugs.
Noted.
I mean, seriously, just you go to a parking lot and you're
Like whatever you want.
Can you find hookers too?
probably.
Yeah.
I was not in a place, I'd just gone through a breakup, and I'd gone to a reservation at my ex. I would find hookers.
Just really quickly, just to clarify, when you went to the reservation, were you like actively considering like, okay, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna convert, like, or no? Or is just your mind open to that possibility, or was that like?
I was thinking about this a couple days ago, and I was thinking, I felt like such a different person then, and like the problem is I don't have one life, and I don't think anybody has one life. I have multiple lives. And, you think that they go consecutively. Oh, I was a different person, then that was that phase, that was that period. But actually, they run concurrently. And this is, like, why I was so conflicted. Because on one timeline, I was, a guy who just wanted to, do drugs and text shitty things to my ex, like, you never loved me.
It's not that bad.
Yeah, well, it's what I'm saying on the podcast. It's not.
Yeah.
Of course, it's not that bad, but there were worse. And so that was one of me, and another one of me was somebody who did want to convert to Catholicism, wanted to live there for the rest of his life, or become a priest and be celibate and just live a life of service. And then there was a third life where it's like, well, what I was doing there wasn't working, and this is not workable, and I want something else. And so there were all of these things happening at the same time, and the fact that, like, I do feel like there are multiple lives in my life lived concurrently, and that's where the friction happens. I was divided against myself.
Okay, so you started doing fun drugs.
Really fun.
What kind of drugs?
I don't want to get Red Cloud in trouble.
Okay.
Got it.
It's a really great school, and, I proved to be an ineffective teacher of 15-year-olds, and they fired me, which was absolutely the right thing to do. I taught health and world geography.
You taught health? Wait.
That's what were you teaching them?
Oh, I started with drugs. That was because, you have a fair amount of latitude, and I started with because, they give you have to teach these things.
You're like, you want to end up like me? Look at me. I'm crazy.
Oh, no. I told the students, I was like, yeah, I've done meth before. I told a room of 15-year-olds that I had done meth.
That's really
before.
inappropriate.
Yes. Yes, it is. And
if I was a parent, I would have complained.
There were so many complaints. You know what I got in real trouble for? At one point, this kid had Axe, and I was like, what's that smell like? Spray it. spray it on my shirt. And he just axed me so hard. And it was, the smell was deafening. And I took off my shirt. And I turned my back to the class, but I took off my shirt to just put on a sweater over it. I got in real trouble for taking off my shirt in front of the class.
That seems like a minor offense to me. But
It's Catholic school. And, of course, I wasn't telling them about the major offense.
Yeah, of course.
But, yeah, I started with the drug unit. And I started by saying, okay, ask me anything, guys. I'll tell you whatever. I'll give it to you straight.
Yeah.
And they did. And then I got fired the day before I was going to start the sex unit, which would have just been a disaster.
Yeah.
And in world geography, do you know who William Oniabor is?
No.
He was a Nigerian musician from the 70s who wrote, really fun Nigerian pop music, and I just made the kids listen to William Oniabor a lot, and then watch a William Oniabor documentary, and then listen to more William Oniabor and write a essay about William Oniabor.
I don't know, that sounds pretty edifying to me.
Yeah. I never even took geography, so I would have learned more in your class than I did not taking geography.
I never took sex ed.
Same.
Which is part of why I
Really?
think I have
They
two
didn't
children.
teach it in...
No, I was a transfer student. So in my old school, they taught it sophomore year. And in my new school, they taught it freshman year. So I just missed it. But I just do want to say a PSA for everybody. Not for you. You can get pregnant while you're menstruating. Multiple times.
Actually, I learned that the hard way, too. But anyway,
I never took sex ed because I went to Catholic school my entire life.
and they don't teach it?
We had one assembly where a woman came in and told us her story, which was that she had sex before marriage and she got divorced, and her sister did not have sex before marriage and met a male model at church and had a very happy marriage. So that was a warning to us. And then in high school, we watched this film called She's Too Young, where an entire high school student body gets chlamydia. And a promising young musician, her career is ended by this.
She dies of chlamydia.
She doesn't die, but she's shamed and dishonored.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so those were the things I learned about sex. And I suffered for it, let me tell you.
Yeah. So maybe in some ways coming from godless California has its benefits.
You probably have more street knowledge than I do.
I just more feel like the shame quotient is remarkably low.
Yeah, what am I going to learn about, not giving a blowjob to, the hot guy on the football team when, I'm literally in all-girls school? That gives me no practical knowledge.
Do you guys want to hear a chilling story, though?
Yeah.
Please.
Because I went to all-girls school on the Upper East Side. I guess maybe I won't publicly name which school it was, but it's the one that Gossip Girl was based on. And there was, when we were in 7th grade, there were the 9th grade gods. And there were these boys at this boys' school. I don't know if it was Alan Stevenson. I can't even remember. And there was 2 groups of popular girls. There was the popular girls who talked to boys. And then there were the popular girls who didn't talk to boys. I was in the popular girls who didn't talk to boys. But the popular girls who talked to boys, they would go to these parties at the 9th grade gods. And there was this guy named Gaspar, I guess was his name. He would literally, at this one party, he sat in a room and 7th grade girls circled through giving him blowjobs.
Oh my God, so they should have watched that movie.
They should have watched that movie. And one of my friends, who I guess I won't name on this, she had braces and she didn't really understand that might be a little problematic. So there was a bit of a bloodbath. You know what I mean?
Gaspar is the name of the guy to whom that happens.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
These poor girls.
These poor girls.
This is why sex education is important.
Yeah, and just I just want to say, if you're a girl and there's somebody sitting in a room and they expect you to wait in line and circle through, that's not your guy.
No, hell no.
That's not your
He's,
guy.
maybe 1/8 your guy, or how, but never fully.
Okay, so you got fired the day before you were supposed to start teaching sex ed.
Yeah, and thank goodness. But no, what happened is when I saw this dog, consciously or not, I was like, okay, I either need God or I need something shaped like God. And I it can't have been conscious, but the next day, it was off to the races.
Yeah.
And I was the worst teacher in the world. I was really...
I doubt that. Like,
I
people,
doubt
like,
that,
molest
too.
their students.
That's true.
Yeah.
There's worse teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there were probably worse teachers there. I was a fun guy. But
I'm sure your students loved you.
they did, the running joke with them is that I wanted to be the cool teacher, but I could never be the cool teacher.
Aw, Ben.
And so they would, like, draw, like, pictures of me on the board and just write, Ben is not the cool teacher.
Kids are so vicious.
Kids are hilarious.
They get right to the heart of things in a way that's really commendable.
And,
you know?
like, they knew somehow that I was going through a breakup. And, like, this one kid, Caden, would raise his hand. And it would seem like he was the smartest kid in the class by a mile. And I'd always think, oh, yeah, I'm getting through to this kid. He's going to ask me a really good question about William Onyebor. And he'd raise his hand and say, Ben, are you missing her? And I'd be like,
Savage.
yeah, I sure am. But I did, on some level, want to convert. And I did want that because Reformed Judaism hadn't given me a fucking thing in the way of God
Yeah.
relationship.
Now, do you feel like that was you specifically, or do you feel like in general in Reformed Judaism it's not presented as a package? Like, was it personal? Was it global?
I think that what happened on October 7th a couple years ago was, for a lot of Reformed Jews, probably not spiritually, but religiously, the best thing that could have ever happened to them, because anti-Zionism sort of became the religion. And it gave them something to be for, and it gave them...
Anti-Zionism?
Yeah. Reformed Jews our age.
Okay.
For sure. I think a majority of Reformed Jews I know our age are, pretty profoundly anti-Zionist, and it gave them that sort of fervor that Reformed Judaism had always denied to them.
Interesting.
Yeah. I can attest to having seen some of that, going to protests with Jewish Voices for Peace.
I got absorbed by a protest a couple days ago. I was in Flatiron walking around, and I was on my phone listening to, and this is not a joke, William Onyebor. And, no, you need to understand that I was listening to it because I knew I was going to be on this podcast. I was like, get into that headspace. And there's this song called When the Going is Smooth and Good, and the lyrics just, when the going is smooth and good, many, many people will be your friend. But when the going gets bad, many, many people will run away. And that's it for several minutes over an infectious
I
beat.
can attest to that. Something that I've noticed, this is maybe way too heavy, but when my mom died, it's like you get marked. Or even when I got divorced. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a little bit like this black mark on you. I don't know if it's like a mark of Cain. I don't know what it is. Where people will like slowly step away because they're like, it's as if like death or misfortune is contagious.
That's exactly right.
And they do not want to be exposed.
Well, I remember when I was in high school, like, the really upset kids who were like cutting themselves and shit. I avoided them. And,
Psychic contagion.
Exactly. It really was a feeling of psychic contagion. Like when I was in high school and I would make out with them or do whatever because I wasn't above that, I would feel like I had been contaminated. I would feel dirty.
You know what? The most intense version I've had of this in my adult life is I did a show out in Seattle a couple of years ago. And for some reason, the part of town that I was living in versus to get to where the theater was, there was only this one. There must have been another road, but there was like this one bridge from this big hill down. And so you had to go through what was basically like an open air drug market. And I remember overhearing this woman saying, she was like, yeah, we came down just for the afternoon and then we got lost here for 3 months, thank God we got out, And I remember having the feeling on the street as I walked around. And one day I made the mistake of going to Pike Place, which is like the big tourist area with my daughter then, she was 3 at that time, just because I needed to buy a pot because this Airbnb had no fucking pots. And we get off at the main tourist drag and there's 30 people laid out, shooting up, smoking meth, and I like had this 3-year-old, and I just didn't even know how to deal with it. But the thing that was so scary is like I didn't think I was going to get mugged. I wasn't afraid of violent crime. I literally felt like my soul was going to get stolen.
Yep.
And that if I got too close, it would just be like sucked out of me.
That's exactly. You know what show I want to see you in 30 years?
What's that?
Long Day's Journey. You would be an incredible Mary.
God.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Totally.
I love that place. I get it.
You know, I'm not an actor, but my dream role was always Jamie. I would have loved it, but
We can put on a little community.
Oh my
production.
God, for sure.
Right,
during one of the salons, like all of the fucking donors I have come here. No, this isn't about the magazine. You're gonna watch me. You're gonna watch Francesca, and we're gonna do something here tonight.
You're gonna feel it, and you will be changed. Yeah, that's the goal.
That's really cool. I'd pay to see it.
Okay, great.
I'd pay like $5.
Yeah, fundraiser.
I'd see you as Edmund.
Yeah, great. Put me in coach. I played boys all the time in high school.
Really? I find that shocking.
I know. It was a little, the costume always looked a little clownish on me.
Yeah, it's
with
like, what would they do with you?
my breasts, yes.
Yeah.
No, but you could like really play beautiful men, like
Delicate.
yeah.
I definitely I made those men delicate, for sure.
Yeah. You know, somebody I used to date a little bit told me the celebrity I look most like is Natalie Portman. And it's the best, it's the kindest thing anybody's ever said to me, because I looked at myself in the mirror, and I'm telling you, and this is, I'm not trying to hype myself up here, the bone structure's there. All right? Like, it's real.
I'm not seeing it, but I really appreciate that you are in a space where you see it.
I have a mustache right now. You can't see it. All you can see
You
is
do
the
look
mustache.
very different with your mustache. I think it's a great move for fundraising specifically.
Everybody's getting mustaches. My husband got a mustache.
Your husband has a mustache right now?
Yeah, it looks really good. I'm a fan of a mustache. Yeah.
I always thought that anyone with a mustache was just telling you they're a scoundrel, but maybe I'm being old-fashioned.
I think nice guys are getting mustaches now. Ooh. I don't know if you identify as a nice guy.
I'm working on it.
Yeah.
I'm getting there. No, my therapist called me a reformed scoundrel recently.
That's what every girl's looking for.
Totally.
This is why Alex Howe is irresistible to women. And he is.
I do not have that experience.
No, I know. Listen to me.
Sorry.
I said that we'd be cohesive. I said we'd stick to something. I'm so sorry.
No,
but listen.
this is good. It's discursive. The medium is the message.
I wanted so badly to talk about conversion too, but anyway,
we'll get there.
We'll get there.
We have some time.
First time I went out with Alex, women would stop on the street and turn and look at him. You two know him too well.
I remember when I first met Alex, we're already sort of low-key feuding, so I really shouldn't be feeding the fire. But I remember the first time I saw him, the first thought in my head was like, I heard my mother's voice and she said, horn dog, you know?
No, listen, I love Alex so much.
I love Alex too. I'm sorry, Alex. I really do love you. That's why I rag you so hard.
But there is all of the sort of eagerness to please and softness and kindness and stuff leavened with just something a little bit sort of horn doggy or something.
He is a horn dog.
There's a twinkle in his eye.
There's a twinkle, yeah.
It feels like he's a safe venue to be unsafe. And I think that is ultimately what women are looking for.
Wow.
See, I told you on the note I could tell you about women.
Totally.
We love being told about women.
Yeah, I just want to go in here and just I'm going to tell you a thing or two about yourselves.
Mm-hmm. I'm always open to feedback. I'm seeing somebody. I can't believe I'm actually saying this. He's not gonna fucking listen. I'm seeing somebody, and I was like, literally, he was kind of joking and like telling me about myself, and he's like, I'm sorry. He's like, I went to that. I was like, no, literally, please. If you can show me anything about myself I don't know, I would be thrilled. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, here's the thing. Every woman I've seriously dated has gone on to date a woman after me, and
you're one of those.
A finishing school.
The reason for that is historically, so that like I have a modicum of emotional intelligence. Nothing huge, nothing big, but I think the women I dated felt seen by me, and like we could like talk about our feelings openly. But
You're spiritually lesbian.
yes,
Yeah.
if I put on a baseball cap that covers my eyebrows, I look like a lesbian.
You look like Natalie Portman.
No, I actually look like chubby Judith Butler. But
Has the same effect on these women.
yeah, but then I would go and do like this stuff that like shitty guys do, and they'd be like, "Well, enough of that." But I've also like experienced like feeling seen and like emotionally engaged
Yeah.
by a man. So then it's
So you have no choices but to move on to women. They have no choices.
I think men like you are just rare, you know?
You are a rare bird. I remember the first time I met you, I was like, that's a rare bird right there.
yeah. And you asked me, you're like, "Are you a writer?" Immediately, you have the Gatsby thing where you look at somebody and the person feels they're being seen exactly as they wish to be seen, and that like you get it. And I hadn't said 3 fucking words to you.
I was just
I was
clear.
like, she gets me. She gets me. And it's such a wonderful skill.
Oh,
I don't even know if it's a skill, but you know.
Thank you. God.
And I think you're born with it. It's not something that can be
Exactly.
cultivated.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Well, I got it. We could just move into 11. I was just thinking about the first time I saw this one over here. You know?
Aw.
Yeah. It's really sweet.
No, I'm going to say one nice thing about you two, and then we can go to
Okay.
conversion. The listeners, Sarah Kelly Koenig is
Koenig. Now we're even. Yeah.
Cosmic retribution.
nice. Sarah Kelly Koenig is probably one of my 3 favorite unpublished writers ever.
Gosh, thank you.
And you know, I read your stuff, and whenever you read somebody else's stuff, you like gird yourself to
Gird
think less of
the
them.
loins. Yep.
You're just like, this could be brutal, and this could change how I see them, and I hope it is. And it was one of maybe 2-3 times in the past 5 years when I've read something and then thought more of the person. I was like, holy shit, this is good.
That's very sweet. Thank
Yeah.
you, Ben. Ben texted me. I said, congrats on your literary magazine. He's like, thanks, you should be in it. You'd obviously have to go through my fiction editor, but I put in a good word. I was like, thanks, Yul.
Listen. Listen. When I was at the review, I was hooking up with somebody, and she was a poet, and she was like, well, will you pass? And I was like, no.
Was she good?
No.
She was good, not good enough, though.
She
Okay.
was good, but she was not good enough. That's real, man.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Never meet your heroes. Yeah, it is brutal when somebody sends you their stuff.
Yeah, right?
It's a brutal moment. I also will echo that cannot wait for Sarah's novel
Thanks,
to come
guys.
It could be the Great Philadelphia novel.
out. I feel like I honestly, you know what? Fuck it. I feel like you're going to be the saint of like Gen Z female writers.
Oh my God, thank you. But I'm a millennial.
I know, but I feel like
but that's
they
what it takes.
specifically will feel written for, by, and about by you.
I hope so. I don't know what's going on with them, but
With Gen Z?
Yeah.
You know what? I hang out with them. I think they're fab.
no, I have some. I have a Gen Z in my life, my brother. But I don't think he's representative of all Gen Z. He kind of gives a vibe of like a
Gen
middle-aged
X?
man in the 1930s. No, he's
Oh.
from a different time. But to circle it all back, because my book is about Catholicism.
Conversion.
You landed the plane. Well done.
So I think that like what seems endemic in this time is spiritual longing, the same desire that you had when you went to the reservation. Would you say that's a fair characterization
Oh, sure.
of the current moment? And I know it feels like everyone's converting to Catholicism.
Except Francesca, as I've been outed by Sarah.
Yeah. Well, you are baptized in the Lutheran tradition.
No. Should I briefly tell my stories? It doesn't
I would
really
love
matter.
that.
Go for it.
So basically, my mom, who raised me, Gloria, may she rest in peace, was Catholic. She's Polish from the south side of Chicago. The Poles are, notoriously Catholic. But because she moved to San Francisco and was living like that WASP life in the 80s, she was a career woman, no, who had time for the church when you could go listen to like Mozart in the park with your wine? You know what I mean? So I wasn't brought up in the church, but when I was 12 and we moved here, I was like always obsessed with Catholic art as a child. And then we moved here when I was 12, and there's a beautiful Catholic, like neo-Gothic cathedral on 72nd Street right off of Broadway. And I actually went there and I talked to the nun there, and I was like, I don't believe in God, but I would like to be taken through the catechism. And I remember her just being like, what?
How old were you?
12.
Okay.
And so for a period of, my memory is foggy, 6 months to a year, I attended the classes. I don't know, to be
CCD.
Yeah, I don't really even remember what it was. But I don't think, although there's nobody to ask because my mom is passed, I don't think I was baptized. And then when I was 21 and met my first husband, his family, I really wanted to convert for the wedding because I wanted to get right with God before I got promised. And, but his family, they were so fun. They were Anglicans. And they just, I don't know if you've ever hung out with some like good old fashioned Anglicans in Massachusetts, but those motherfuckers, they're drinking holy wine, you're partying all the time. It's like the merry, jolly version, like flushed face version of Christianity. So they convinced me. They were like, being an Episcopalian is just RC light. They were like, you'll love it. So they convinced me. So I was baptized actually at St. John the Divine, but
A beautiful church.
a gorgeous church.
My favorite church.
The biggest neo-Gothic cathedral in the world, I believe. But here's the thing. The whole
Unfinished.
Is it unfinished?
They're still building it.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
It won't be
Jesus.
finished for like 100, 200 years.
Because you know how the spire is sort of abrupt and square shaped?
Interesting. I
It's
didn't
meant to
realize that.
taper.
It's meant to taper. Okay. So I go there to get baptized. The whole point of being an Episcopalian is there's something called the Book of Common Prayer that everybody uses across the entire world. And in the Book of Common Prayer, for an adult baptism, there is a section of it where you renounce Satan and you ask Satan to get behind you, which was obviously like the sexiest part of this whole thing. And I was really stoked on. But I guess there's like these fucking crying babies. So they baptize me with the water, but they skip the renunciation. So my question is, am I really an Episcopalian?
This explains a lot. Satan is right in front of you. We need to get Satan behind Francesca ASAP.
I know. So it's like, my question is like, maybe it is possible for me to just be baptized as a Catholic. And so I've been exploring that option. I tried to take my kids to church a couple weekends ago. It did not go well. It went fine. And then, but they wanted to draw, and I forgot the paper. So they just ended up marking up the new like pamphlet about the new Pope. But they just painted him all in red, like he was a devil. And I was like, I don't understand how this is happening. And then they started running up and down the aisles. So
That's
that I was
normal
like,
behavior.
I was like, we got to get out of here.
Yeah.
There's something. I mean, I remember when I was a kid being in temple. There's something about religious space that sort of activates you, because I think it's difficult for children to have. I think children can be religious, like you were at 12, but I think it's a rare kid indeed who has a true spiritual experience. Saint Therese de Lisieux's the one exception I know, who, by the way, Darcy Wilder looks exactly like.
You're saying Saint Therese of Lisieux?
Yeah.
Yeah, you just said it in that crazy way. Is that just your French accent?
Yeah.
Okay. She's my patron saint. I took her name on confirmation. I have her on my necklace.
I love her memoir.
Yeah, same. I read it. So this is my problem with Catholic converts. I'll put it out there. I read her memoir when I was 13 years old, preparing for confirmation, So I just am like my meditation on the saints began so early, and I'm just like wondering what Catholic converts are up to. Like I just
Dasha?
Sure. I just feel like
Living in sin, apparently.
I can't speak to that.
Yeah.
But
what's her last name?
Dasha Nekrasova.
Oh, yeah. The podcast lady, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think that it's very trendy aesthetically, 'cause,
The aesthetics are impeccable.
We're all drawn to Catholic imagery, you know, but I just feel like I was meditating on being a nun when I was 7, it's so inherent to me,
Yeah, but you have to, but then you're going to end up like the Zoroastrians, right? If you don't allow converts, if you hold that high of a bar, your religion is just going to fucking die, right? I mean, how many Zoroastrians are there left? There's like
56,000.
There's 56,000. Okay. But they're not doing great, right? they don't
got
convert.
Freddie Mercury.
Yeah. They're not doing great with like convert. I mean, that's the problem of conversion. I don't know.
Catholics love conversion. I just am saying like, and I'm obviously not a practicing Catholic, but I just feel like there's something missing in the Catholic converts that I can't quite put my finger on.
Like J.D. Vance.
For sure.
So here's the thing. I've thought about this a lot because I really wanted to be one of them. What I wanted, it was a violent impulse. I wanted to be destroyed by God and then made into something different because I thought all of these features and attributes that I am, they've added up to something that I don't like. There's nothing I'm so attached to that I wouldn't give up. I would like to be made new. And, you know, that imagery, the violent imagery of a spiritual conversion, which is, you know, what happened to, you know, Abraham, what happened to Jacob when he was wrestling with the angel. A return to faith is also an act of conversion. Judaism, I think, deals with that a lot, but there's violent impulse, and I think if you aren't careful, you know, religious conversion can save your life but destroy your soul, or at least mar it. And I think something that the Catholic converts and J.D. Vance especially desire is a sort of dour strictness. You know, and it comes from that same feeling that I had. You know, J.D. Vance, I think, really fetishizes the strictness of Catholicism, the order. People look at the world and they think it's unprecedentedly chaotic. I was talking to my girlfriend last night who is, you know, she was born a Catholic and she's, you know, very into Catholicism in her own heterodox way. She thinks very hard about Padre Pio. And she's starting a podcast called Varieties of Religious Experience, which I think is going to be fantastic, probably. Definitely, what am I saying? And someone, J.D. Vance, famously talked early in his vice presidency about how you should be concerned with the people in your country first, and why are we doing?
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, that's Ordo Amoris. This is an Augustinian concept." Well, and then there's this English politician, Rory Stewart, who was like, "No, that's wrong." And he was like, "You think you have an IQ of 130, but you only have an IQ of 110. That man does not fuck." J.D. Vance, like, ick. But I had just been reading a lot of Augustine, and Ordo Amoris is just saying, love God first, love people second, love material objects third.
So J.D. Vance got it completely wrong. He got it twisted.
He extrapolated in a zany way.
In a way that the Pope did not agree with.
Yeah, no. But that's an incredibly strict imperative to love God before people. It's you know, already incredibly difficult.
Well, also, like, we are all made in God's image. You
Yes,
know what I mean? Like, I feel like the way that you love God is through love of people.
Yeah, and, you know, Augustine was sort of the arch convert. You know, you read the Confession, and he wanted that, too. He writes of himself with such, before his conversion, with such over-cultivated disdain. Just, I was disgusting. Sometimes I jerked off. Ew. And the other convert who I've read a lot who does that is Thomas Merton. And Merton's Seven-Story Mountain is beautifully and elegantly written, incredibly psychologically astute, but then he'll write about himself before the conversion with such disgust.
So maybe this is something this is interesting, because I think that what I fully processed as a child was like, I am a sinner, you know? And like, I feel like these Catholic converts have this air of like, okay, like my sins were washed away. Now I have moral superiority, and I feel like it's a very attractive to like MAGA because it gives moral authority to their politics, you know, when they can point to Christianity. But like, I feel like there's this disconnect where it's like, we are all sinners.
Still, right now, currently, in the present.
Yes.
Obviously. Yes.
And until we die.
Like, yes, our
Always.
original
But
sin
see, that's
has
where
been washed away.
that's where the evangelical aspect has bled into, like, I would say that they are like evangelical Catholics, right? Because in the evangelical modality, like, you get that sin washed away and you are reborn, baby.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that struggle is over. Now we only are on the righteous path.
Yes.
You know, and I feel like
predestination.
yeah, I mean, it just like in this idea of like faith versus works, right? Like justification by faith alone, which like that's not a Catholic, like in Catholicism, they don't talk about that.
Faith without works is dead.
Yeah, but that is an unpopular, I mean, Luther didn't like that, right? He wasn't into that. His whole thing was that faith alone justifies. And I think that that's the problem with this like new strain of Catholicism, the MAGA Catholicism, is like it's actually a Protestant Catholicism and they forget the works.
That's what it feels like.
I agree. Oh God, yeah. I don't understand, though. I don't feel like Catholicism does assimilate sin really well, though, because of confession, because you have a place to go weekly, and then do that. Is there any? I don't know anything about Protestantism, really. I mean, I've read Luther's Theses, and I've read Reinhold Niebuhr, but is there? And you know, you hung out with the Episcopalians.
Yeah, well, they are sort of Catholic like, because they do have confession. So like,
do they?
Well, I think it depends if you go. There's like different. There's actually one right on the corner. It's like in the what do they call it? In the conservative Anglican tradition, there's a version of
the High Church. Yeah,
that is much more Roman Catholic, but like almost pre-Vatican II Roman Catholic, which is, you know, that's a whole other topic. But so they are sort of more like the Catholics, which is why my, you know, former in-laws convinced me. But I think, in at least my experience with evangelical Christianity, which I have to say always terrified me as a child, and I think still frightens me today. If I ever find myself in a space where white people have their hands up, I'm like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? It just doesn't sit right with me.
No.
You know, there's something frightening happening there. And you know what? Actually, before all of this, I was witnessed to Christ accidentally as a teenager. This guy was helping me move in some furniture that I bought from him on Craigslist. And before I even knew it, I don't even understand how it happened. Suddenly my hand was up and I'd promised my life to Jesus Christ.
So they get you.
They get you, and they get you fast. And I don't think it's really about the importance of the actions afterward. It's really about getting to that one moment.
Because my understanding is that like there are people who are destined for heaven and there are people who are destined for hell. So
I mean, that's a specifically
Jonathan Edwards. That's
like
yeah.
a Calvinist, like predestination is specifically like, I don't know if all, that's the other thing.
I recently
like,
had dinner with some Calvinists. They were hugely antisocial.
Calvinist, I mean, is anybody a Calvinist anymore? It's just
yes.
like, really?
Unfortunately,
that's shocking
so.
to me. They're like the most dour. They don't even have like good decorations.
Dour is exactly the word.
It's just awful. But I feel like the thing, God, this is so offensive and I don't even have anything to back. I feel like with evangelical Christian, like with Christianity unleashed from any sort of institution, what I've seen is it's just a fucking free for all of like this imagining of what Jesus would do with his guns. And like, there's nothing reining it in. That's been my experience. I just felt like I was in a spiritual Wild West, you know, where there's no rules, there's no constraints, and it can get real fucking weird really fast. And the thing is, like, of course, Catholicism can get weird. I mean, the sex abuse scandal is fucking insane. So it's like,
which is also
interesting
interesting that like MAGA people like Candace Owens are like converting to Catholicism when like one of her main things is like pedophilia.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, she's like completely contradictory because she also like is friends with Andrew Tate. But it's like that's actually like a huge thing that I feel like, you know, the Republicans love to be like pedophilic cabal, you know, but it's like actually the like love for the Catholic Church, but huge pedophilic
cabal.
Organization.
I mean, literally.
Yeah.
Any organization in which you have the leadership take a vow not to fuck and then have them work with children.
So this is why the Episcopalians believe in what they do, because they're basically like, we're Catholics who let our guys fuck or marry and have children.
Which I think is appropriate.
I would agree. There's something so pathetically horny about evangelical Christianity. It's always sort of tinged with sex. They're always sort of gesturing toward it in a way. It's always unsettled me. I've been to a few churches, and I went to them on purpose, with a strong charismatic tradition where people, have the gift of tongues, as they call it. And, I just sat there thinking, this is so horny. Like, ew.
I had this crazy experience once, which I don't know if this is. So I was doing this, like, about EST, right?
I know about EST.
Okay, so I was doing like an EST offshoot that was close to Landmark, except it was for Black.
Forum.
Just really quickly, can you just explain what that is?
Okay, could you explain? What is it called? It's a language redistribute model. Like, what do they call it? They have a technical name for it.
That's right, and look, man, I don't know a lot about it, but what EST was really good at, and what the Forum and what the other thing were really good at were... EST is violent, too, in the same way.
It's like a self-actualization.
It's like religion
program.
for people who are not religious.
Exactly.
Like, they wouldn't call themselves a religion. It came out of California
Like
in the
Esalen
70s.
Institute.
Yes, exactly. So I did a version of it that was like basically like Landmark Forum, which is the most well-known one, but it was like for Black people.
Why?
Why did I do it? There was a period of time where I had a group of friends, and like, this is proselytizing. Literally every person in this group of friends ended up going through this program. I had an amazing experience. A lot of people had a negative experience.
In California?
No, here in New York. Huh. This was like...
It's still running.
It still exists. I had an incredible experience. It worked for me. That's a whole other conversation we can get into.
And it was largely about making money. Self-actualization. Right?
I mean, their motto is results are sexy, which really hooked me. But the point, the last weekend, you have like the final workshop. This was like a 3-month program. So we've all known each other really well. We've done all this stuff together. It's a group of like 45 people. We're deeply bonded, people you would never normally like meet. But they happened to the only space they could book was a church. And what happened in that final weekend, which was like a full, we barely slept, was that somebody started speaking in tongues. And then what I watched where people started dropping like flies as the Spirit took them over, right? And basically then this one guy who had gone to prison for killing somebody and was a former gang member, he got this devil in him, right?
Oh,
and he was like on the floor shaking, right? And somebody came in who I think had a background in the church and like called the Spirit out of him, right? But the thing that nobody noticed was the Spirit left him and he was calm and everybody was like, thank Jesus, whatever. Because things had gotten into sort of blending at that point out of the EST into the more Jesus. But the devil jumped from him into me.
I knew it.
So I'm there in the corner of the church and I'm like, and this one guy, Anthony, he came over to me. He's like 5'2", beautiful Black man. He comes over to me and he just like puts his hand on my forehead and he says, "In the name of Jesus, I cast you out."
Get that devil behind this bitch.
And it fucking worked.
Okay, so Francesca was talking about demonic possession, and then
our mics cut out.
Yep.
And now they won't work anymore. So that tells you shouldn't open the door to start with.
Well, you never cast Satan behind you. Do we need to do something? Like, can you get an appointment with like an exorcist? Or
but it worked. But the thing is that
lay exorcist?
A lay exorcist. I mean, basically, like, it worked. But I think the point that we were talking about after it cut out is that, like, in that room, all those people who were dropping before I dropped, like, some of them probably had experience in church with things like this and speaking in tongues, but a lot of them didn't, And I think that, like, the problem is you have to be careful what container you get yourself into, because once the channel's open, and this is why I'm so skeptical of evangelical Christianity, because you're not really clear on what the container is, And this is something, like, I was really obsessed when I was younger with this idea of, like, being an empty vessel for God. But the problem is if you're an empty vessel, like, the question is, like, well, what if you get filled with the wrong thing?
Yeah, and it happens even to very pious and holy people.
Yeah.
People... like really doctrinaire Catholics say that's what happened to Merton, because late in his career he was like, Zen Buddhism's pretty cool, man. I could get into that. And then he died at a like conference on Buddhism and Catholicism in Bangkok, and all of the really doctrinaire Catholics were like, well, that's what you get. He the wrong thing. He was doing the wrong thing.
I mean, what did Francis say? Who am I to judge?
Who am I to judge? Yes.
But I guess we haven't even talked about, and we have to wrap up, but like, there's a new pope.
God, there's so much more that I wish we could. We covered great stuff.
We'd love to have you back on.
We'd love to have you back on, but like we have a new pope who's taken a name, right, to show that he's for the working people, perhaps not for moving terribly forwards, neither backwards with the Catholic Church. And I don't know, I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. And I think that's also something that's interesting about these new Catholics is that like, or this new Catholic contingency is that a lot of them, like we're saying that Francis was the anti-pope, and there's a lot of, so my question is there a schism approaching?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking.
So I guess with that,
Thank you so
my
much.
girlfriend said the next pope's going to be a woman.
Yeah, hell no. That's just, did you watch Conclave?
No, but then we watched Conclave and I was like, Liz, you said!
yeah.
I think she was speaking figuratively, maybe.
I mean, listen, we would love it. We would love women in leadership roles in the church, but it just seems something that's more impossible than gay marriage, birth control.
I think like I guess I've been accused of being an incrementalist, and
By whom? Let's get it.
Well, actually, wasn't that by Elizabeth last week?
Yeah.
And I would say that with the Catholic Church, I'm all for incrementalism.
Totally.
Me too.
Fight the battles you can win. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
I've always said so.
Well, should we leave it at that?
I suppose so.
Yeah, and we'll definitely pick it back up at some
Great.
point soon. So thank you all, guys. Oh, and we forgot to say, if you've been enjoying the podcast, please subscribe. You can do it for free. We just need your little name there to help us out. It would be super nice. But otherwise,
See you next time. Class dismissed. Bye.
Bye.